A young halfling bearing wild, unkempt, nearly golden hair slides down from the top of a tall standing tree that barely towered over the rest within the deep forest. Her padded boots and gloves keep a safe enough hold, while basic furs serve as clothing, waves in the rushing wind of movement. She reaches the bottom triumphantly and gives a grin to her two companions. "You're not going to believe what I found." One companion is an elf, Winkthalia, and even with the three of them at a young age, she stands tall above the trio. While nobody in their home village can afford luxury clothing, Wink had taken it upon herself to stitch together rags to form some semblance of the pirate clothing she was enamored with. It had the likeness of a proper frock coat, but only on a single layer without the extra frills. The only other piece of pirate-like apparel simply being her straw hat that typically covers her raven black hair, except when she'd wave said hat around proudly. She grins back gleefully. "Give it to me! Tell me something good! A hidden treasure, evil goblins, a mystical talking tree, tell me!" "If it's dangerous, I really don't think you should tell her, Lumen. You know what happened last time." The third of the trio speaks softer, as she fidgets with a puzzle box. A gnome with short, silvery blue hair that curls at the ends. A jade cloak disguises her form, even the wind left unable to reveal more. Wink grabs at the gnome's shoulders. "Where's your sense of adventure, Dokuga?" "I think I left it a few miles back at the start of the forest." Ignoring Dokuga's remark, Wink turns back to Lumen. "Report your findings, Barrelman." Lumen straightens and salutes. "As asked for, Captain, head westward and we'll find water. There's also a building with a bunch of vines all over it." Without a second thought, Wink immediately rushes westward, Dokuga protesting as she stays. "No, we really shouldn't go any further. We already shouldn't be here." Only for Lumen to grab and drag her along. "You know Wink isn't gonna stop. Might as well move with her unless you want to be left behind," Lumen teased. And with a sigh partnered with the reluctant acceptance of Wink's excitement about the unknown ahead of them, the trio marched onward through the deep forest. It didn't take long before they broke into a clearing and met their quarry, a disheveled brick-and-mortar building overgrown with vines and moss alike. Were it not for the weathering of the elements against it, revealing layers underneath of sun-bleached hues of red, one would assume that green was the naturally intended color of the building. It isn't particularly large, but broken windows betray their intended purpose, allowing Flora to find purchase on ledges and into the building as they attempt to fully reclaim their home. Wink holds herself up tall. "Wow, look at all this! This place is just ripe for the picking!" Lumen follows. "It's so old and falling apart. Nature is digging into this place." Dokuga, almost in a trance of curiosity, slowly walks ahead of her friends and pokes at the plump vines, their leaves coated in a syrup-like liquid. Having experience with this, Dokuga only momentarily hesitates before tasting it, resulting in a small burst of sweetness. Knowing it to be a fairly common sweet substance being made by plants with plenty of water and nutrients to release, she mindlessly pokes for more. "Well, the plants seem healthy here at least, so maybe it won't be so bad to be here after all," hesitation still lingering. "In that case, I'm sure you won't mind going first then." Wink flashes a toothy smile. Dokuga grimaces. "Well, I didn't say I'm comfortable with it, but just as long as you're both right behind me, I'm sure I'll be okay." A forced smile plays across her face. Before second thoughts could be had, the duo pushed Dokuga ahead through the dark opening. "This ought to be real good. Maybe we'll luck out with some crazy relic." Lumen's eyes darted around, but within a few seconds of walking through, they stopped. "Wait, I just realized I can't see." Right. I apologize, my valued Barrowman. While we can see clearly in the dark, you need some assistance. We can remedy that quickly." And with a swift lighting of a torch, the room was alight. A captain is responsible for all members of the crew and their needs, of course, so I came prepared. A hallway with loose hanging wires strung from the ceiling, eroded and moss-grown walls, and a floor cracking apart from the pressure of flora invading the structure, all now revealed by torchlight. The trio continues through, eyes drifting, taking in details as they walk in unintended silence. It wasn't until they reached the end that a stairway stood, ready to lead them underground, deeper into the facility. Wink turns to Dokuga. "Any ideas as to what we have on our hands?" I've read about large labs in some of the books the traders brought, but it's so run down. I can't imagine what could have happened here. Dokuga's eyes stay glued to the stairway, watching, listening for anything. Lumen steps forward. Hand me the torch. I've got anything that comes our way beat. Without argument, Wink passes the torch and Lumen treks onward. Each step taken echoes, surrounding them just as oppressing as the darkness, until said echoes take longer to return and they step into a larger room. Torchlight reflects off of countless glassware, some turned over and spilling their contents over their tables. Don't touch anything in here, Dokuga pipes up. It's hard to tell what was in any of these to begin with. Wrinkling her nose, Lumen warns. Something smells wrong here. I don't know what, but it's nothing to stay around either. Wink nods her head. Understood and agreed. No reason to make harmful decisions. As they traipse past the tables, torchlight reveals a frame with no door, and they continue through. This only leads them to a larger room lined with row upon row of square cubbies. The floor is broken and warped tiling from the pressure of the earth, nature finding another way inside the facility. The ceiling is affixed with empty glass orbs attached directly to it. It only takes a second for the group to cover their noses as they realize this is where the strange smell originates from. A lingering smell of old decay matched with mildew and dust that invades and permeates throughout. Taking it worst of the three, Lumen almost rips clothing off just to fashion a mask. That smell is too much. I'm gonna hurl if we stay here too long. Nodding down to Lumen, Wink assures, we will take a quick look in that case and move on as soon as possible. Dokuga was curious about the display before she passes by closer to the storage and takes a closer look, only to see that it wasn't normal storage, but rather old tanks for various animals. The only remains are the empty enclosures full of old meals and the occasional unfortunate soul. Before Dokuga could relay the info, she could see Wink already staring at a past snake. They always get a bad reputation, Wink starts. Not fair for anyone to be judged by their immediate appearance. She clasps her patchwork clothing tightly before turning to the duo. Let's get to the end of this place and leave. I'm already getting a little sick just from what we've seen. Dokuga holds firm eye contact with Wink. We don't need to continue if you're not feeling good, Wink. Lumen is already not feeling great, so it's not worth anything if we end up sick. You aren't wrong. If we all agree, we can check out the next room and see what it holds, then turn back before it's too late. What do you think, Lumen? Wink turns to face Lumen, but other than Dokuga, finds nobody there. Lumen? Dokuga turns and scans the area. She disappeared that fast? I don't understand how she can sneak away like that, but she can't be far, Wink. Right, let's see if she moved forward then. Marching onward, they wound up in a thin corridor, the smell fading the further they travel. But not only did the smell fade, but the signs of time as well. Almost as if the area was cared for, cracks were fused shut, the tiling became whole, the walls became full of color, and even light could be seen ahead with a small silhouette of a familiar halfling looking away from them. Looking around perplexed, Dokuga, information report. She stares at the lights, now working once more. Archaic flames held within, casting a warm glow that betrays the unease building inside of Dokuga. I want to leave. We need to grab Lumen and leave now. If this is all in this good of a shape but nothing else is, then it was all a way to keep curious wanderers like us out. There isn't a shred of anxiety shown in her voice as it comes out, but deep inside her stomach flips, the sheer instinct within making her want to take flight. As they get closer to Lumen, they make out finer details and find her standing before a heavy iron door nudged open. Without turning, I've never been more scared in my life, while also wanting to go further than I am right now, guys. A closer look shows Lumen's legs shaking, but she points up to an illuminated sign above the door reading, Class S Containment. Breached. A chill shoots down everyone's spine and continues to rock their core. The sheer presence of whatever may exist beyond that door brings fear in the most primal sense to their spirits. First to speak is Wink and a shudder. Dokuga, if your gut is right, then we've stumbled onto the worst of the worst. Second, with a shaking voice, is Dokuga. Nothing makes sense anymore. Abandoned lab with a clean corridor, and now a room saying something of high class escaped? This place screams death. But instead of a third, almost as if compelled, Lumen reaches up and gently pushes open the door before the other two could react and reveals the horror beyond the corridor. A surgery room kept in pristine condition. Tables are collected together to serve as a base for distilleries. Instruments shine in the light as they are free from all foreign substances, and thousands upon thousands of vials filled with red liquid. But what seems strangest of all is the collective presence of dull gray rocks on their own table, their broken forms sitting beside them with picks for reducing their size. A few moments pass before curiosity takes hold and the trio steps forward. But the second they do, they blink and find themselves in their village doctor's facility. Dokuga wakes with a start and immediately looks around to find Wink and Lumen in their beds, minorly injured but looking haggard, exhausted more than anything. When she tries to speak, she finds her voice caught in her dry throat, now realizing even her lips are cracked. The trio, unable to speak, stared wide-eyed in silence at each other, unsure what to make of their situation. Over a week, they returned to good health. Scoldings and new rules aside, they were told what happened. As villagers were going about their business, they could hear loud footfalls in the distance, only to see the trio in a full sprint towards the village. They seemed to be in a state of hyper-focus, and when checked out, their eyes were glazed over as if in a trance. They had clearly sprinted from far away, and only once they reached the village did they stop and immediately collapse. There was no way of explaining it, and while the story was allowed to fade into history, the trio would never forget what had occurred that day, even as they grew and parted ways into the wide world around them.